Hey everyone, this is the OutcastWriter. You may notice a few different things. First of all, is this hat. I was having an interesting hair day, so I decided, hey, I'll wear a hat. Couldn't get to my other hats because they're all behind a big pile of junk over there. You may have also noticed this is a different room. I was doing it in my kitchen. We actually got enough room cleared out here in the creative space, as we're calling it, the spare bedroom, that I was finally able to put in the computer desk and do something a little more stable, a little more, at least with a better background. Got some Hobbit posters up there, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. But you're not here for that. You're here for my review of Wonder Woman. And guess what? It's, been about 2-3 weeks since Wonder Woman came out, even though I saw it like a third or fourth day it was out. So, just the typical being late with the reviews, but here you go. I like doing them, and fortunately a handful of people enjoy watching them, so they'll keep going. Well, without further ado, let's jump right into Wonder Woman. There was a lot riding in on, or I shouldn't say riding in, riding on, riding beside, riding however you want to call it, riding on this movie, with kind of the DCEU being lackluster so far. Man of Steel being the best film of the previous three, and that generally got, mixed reviews. And then with the huge flops and failures, that was Batman vs. Superman and also Suicide Squad. A lot of people were looking at this as almost kind of like the last hope of the DCEU. And, kind of thinking, if Wonder Woman's not good, should we just give up on this whole thing? Well, fortunately for Warner Brothers and the DCEU, Wonder Woman is a good movie. I actually had a video, which the comments got pretty interesting, but I actually had a video talking about my hopes and impressions from a Wonder Woman trailer. I think it was the first one that came out. It's probably about a year old or so, which I will have linked to somewhere here. But so yeah, a lot of writing on this. I went to go see it with my wife. It was actually the first movie we got to go see together in a movie theater, so that was really awesome. Where to start? I guess the first thing, obviously with the beginning there were kind of, that's another thing. I'm going to be going into spoilers. Spoiler mode. Spoilers are full on. I probably won't get into huge detail with them, but just bring it up for pertinent points. Let me see. So, yeah, they had the opening scene with Diana Prince, or Wonder Woman, however you want to call her, getting a photo from Bruce Wayne that kind of brings back these old memories, which serves as a origin story for Wonder Woman. And right away, you really notice how bright and colorful it is, which is really nice. My wife didn't really like the painting aesthetic. She said it kind of messed with her. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool. But the one thing with the mythology, and I'm sorry if there's a little bit of noise. One of my neighbors has been moving around lots of stuff apparently, so apologize for that. But the Greek mythology, now of course I've studied Greek mythology. I know it fairly well. That intro's a little weird. It's like, yeah, they definitely comic bookified that Greek mythology there. That isn't like anything like real Greek mythology. So yeah, that was a little weird. That took me a little bit out of it. But again, that's me. I know Greek mythology fairly well, so I don't think that's going to bother most people. But hey, this is my review. I wanted to comment on that. But yeah, I really loved how bright and colorful it was, and I really have to comment and not to grind an axe on Snyder, because we're not going to do that. By the way, I'm just going to say it right now. He was part of the group that wrote the screenplay. They did a great job, so kudos to you, Zack Snyder, on being a part of that group who did such a good job with the story. You did well, so I will applaud. I will applaud that. Knocking over stuff now. But it was really so bright and colorful, which is something that we haven't had in a DCEU movie yet. And it was really nice. It was really refreshing to just kind of have this. And yeah, the color palette wasn't drained looking. It was bright. It was beautiful. It was amazing. Visuals were very stunning. Speaking of visuals, there are a few things more so early on, and especially with well, not so much the slow motion, but there are a few things early on that the CGI looked a little fakeish to me, but that was really only early on, and it got better as the movie went on. There was a bit of an over-reliance of slow motion You could probably say that there was an over-reliance of slow motion throughout the entire film, but I really only noticed it at the beginning. Maybe that's kind of because there wasn't a whole bunch going on. We're still trying to figure out the Amazons and how this all works out. So yeah, so after all that, the movie just kind of keeps going. We get a bit of an origin story, and it was neat to see Diana just being kind of a spunky, adventurous girl. I really enjoyed that. There was I enjoyed the dynamic between her and her aunt. That was very interesting. I loved that. And just I really love that, how that plays into her wearing her headpiece. I know I'm or tiara, whatever you want to call it. I really love how that whole relationship played in her getting that. But yeah, if you saw the trailers, like I said, I'm gonna try to keep it as spoiler free as possible. If you saw the trailers, you saw that Steve Trevor, who is Chris Pine's character, he crashes, and apparently there's like a force fieldy sort of, almost like a mirage mechanism that is around the island of Themyscira. Well, anyways, Steve ends up crashing through that, and the Germans follow him, and there's a big, huge battle. That's what introduces Princess Diana to this whole conflict, well, and the Amazons in total, to this whole conflict that is going on. That is World War I. And that was another thing that really intrigued me, was the World War I setting. And I really have to comment, I really do enjoy the historical accuracies. I think they did a good job of portraying the horrors of war. They also did a pretty good job of presenting the, I guess you could call the prejudices, or sorry, that has getting uncomfortable. The prejudices, or just the mannerisms of the time, with certain things like what's a woman doing here, and certain things. And they did a wonderfully clever job with Etta Candy. That is, yeah, Etta Candy. That's her character name, but with Lucy Davis's character. Really enjoyed her, although I really hope that she would have had more screen time, but they implemented her character very well with what limited time she had, which I'm going to touch on that as was another hope of mine. I hope they had a good cast of side characters, and I think they did a really good job. I know there's been some complaints about the villains. I don't think they were really too bad. The motivations for Ludendorff and Dr. Poison, yeah, they don't really have motivations, except that, and there's a bit of a hand slap, that Ludendorff is just like the stereotypical, like, war-crazed German that is going on with World War I, which is painted because of what happened in World War II. I don't necessarily blame people that way, but World War I was an entirely different beast. But yeah, those two villains aren't really fantastic. There is another villain. Well, let me just put it this way, is that there is a villain, Ares, and Diana believes Ludendorff to be Ares. Well, actually, she doesn't originally. She's like, well, Ares is causing this. So that's why she ends up leaving. I know I'm jumping around a lot, but I'm trying rather to touch more upon the themes of this movie. So she's like, Ares is behind this world war, and she believes that Ludendorff is Ares as well. And they do actually show Ares, not just through a Ludendorff persona or a different person persona or anything like that, but they actually do show Ares as a proper character. My apologies. I think his reasoning for what he's doing is very, very interesting. His whole reasoning that, humanity is destined to destroy itself and to continue to cause plight and evil and wickedness, and they will destroy the world, and the only way to bring peace about is to destroy humanity. So there's a really interesting commentary going on there that I kind of appreciated. So I don't think that once you include Ares into the mix, I don't think that that's perfectly fair to say that Wonder Woman's villains were not deep or nuanced. I think Ares' character was handled very well in particular. But yeah, some of the other villains, not, they were not fleshed out characters. They were just kind of, we need a bad guy. But I think they did a pretty good job with Ares. Other side characters that they did, I already talked about Etta Candy. Let me see. There was, let me see. I am so sorry, looking at my notes. Ewan Bremer played Charlie, who's basically the Scotsman who has PTSD. They didn't. Again, he only had limited screen time, but they did a good job, kind of representing how that affected people, and just they did make him a character. They did invest in him. They did a good job with Samin as well. With I hope I get his name right. Well, part of it would help if I could actually read my own handwriting. But the actor who, Saeed, I can at least say his first name, Saeed, who plays Samin, oh, one of my favorite actors. I was so glad he was in this movie. When I saw him, I was immediately like, they need to do his character justice. They did a very good job. There's actually some nice, funny interactions between him and Wonder Woman, and it's pretty awesome. It's pretty well done. The only side character that I think they didn't do too great of a job with was Chief, as he's referred to. He felt I don't want to say, well, it was the acting, but it just, something about it didn't feel as nuanced, and I don't know if it was the writing, I don't know if it was actor, I don't know if it was a combination of the both, but his character just didn't seem so deep, and that was kind of a shame, because it was a really interesting character, and it was really interesting commentary about, this is the only place he feels free, after his land being taken away from him. But yeah, overall they did very well with the side characters. The story was pretty engaging. I'm trying to think of a few other things that I really want to touch upon. Like, again, I know I'm kind of jumping back and forth. The performances were good. Gal Gadot, she did a wonderful job. I know there's been some criticism for her. I don't think that's really justified. I mean, I'm not going to go and say she was amazing, but I think she did a really good job. I mean, what more really could you ask for? Chris Pine, he did a good job. Yeah, I mean, even the villains, they did a good job. There wasn't anything over the top. Even with Ludendorff, which you could accuse that the most of him being over the top, I don't think it felt over the top. It didn't feel campy, and also didn't take itself too seriously. To kind of address one last issue that I know some people have had, kind of like, oh, this. They've pointed out some feminist things within the movie, and you knew that was going to happen. There was going to, it's Wonder Woman. She's always been a part of of feminism, of empowering women, and that's okay. There were two things, though, that happened that I can't really remember. The one was about, there was really only two things that happened in the movie where it's kind of like, okay, you felt a bit like you were preaching, you got up on your soapbox, like the director or whoever was doing this, the writers or whatever. It's like, okay, you got on your soapbox to get your little, who needs a man stab. And not that there isn't necessarily anything wrong with that. It's just, for me, it breaks me out of the immersion of the movie, because I can sense that, there's a difference between being a strong woman and not needing a man, sort of a thing. And Wonder Woman, for 99% of the film, 98% of the film, because there's that one scene that goes on for a while. They do a very good job of showing a strong female character. But there were two occasions. The second one eludes me. I don't really need to go into detail to that. But there were two moments in the movie that I felt were just kind of like, oh, yep, you're getting your little stab in there that didn't really need to be in there. But overall, I know I've kind of brought up some negative things, but to be perfectly honest, they're very small things. They didn't take away from the enjoyability of this movie, and I enjoyed it a lot. I'm not going to go so far and to say it's a great movie, like I've heard some people say, but it was a very good movie. It was the movie that the DCEU desperately needed, and I was glad I watched it. I was happy to watch it with my wife, and yeah, I really, jury's still out on the DC movies, but I'll gladly watch another Wonder Woman movie. Bring that another one. Bring that director back. They did a fine job. Everyone there did a really good job. Hopefully they can do a few things in the next one where they can just tighten things up a little bit to make it a truly fantastic film. But they did a very good job, and I'm so glad. I think a lot of people are just so glad that this was a really good movie. And so Warner Bros. Can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief. I can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief, because I was really wanting this movie to be good, and it was good. And there was a lot riding on just the first Wonder Woman movie. So yeah, Good job. So that's my rambling thoughts. I do plan on getting to be a little more coherent, but with the move and everything, everything's still a bit jumbled, a bit up in the air. But those are my thoughts on Wonder Woman. Please go ahead and let me know what you thought of the movie. It is greatly appreciated for watching. I appreciate you liking, subscribing, whatever you want to do. Yeah, good Wonder Woman movie. Makes me happy, and now I'm hitting stuff. But anyways, please leave me your feedback in the comments. I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you for watching. This is the OutcastWriter signing off. And remember, what we create matters.